Start. Okay. Thank you so much for coming here tonight. We, as the FCCT, are very pleased to host the first Pint of Science event at the club as part of the Global Antibiotic Awareness Week. And I myself am a big fan of the Pint of Science events, and I am delighted that we collaborate tonight. I am the second vice president of the FCCT and a journalist from the Netherlands. Many of us are out on the streets tonight, we have Peg Young, associate professor at the University of Oxford, who will moderate this evening. And we have a few experts, a few prominent experts will share some of their knowledge on antimicrobial resistance with you. And afterwards, after every talk, people will be able to ask questions. Is that right? Okay. Okay, I'll hand over the microphone to Peg.
Thank you very much, Annalie. Right, everyone, welcome to Pint of Science Thailand. My name is Peg Young, and I work at the Mahidol Oxford Tropical Medicine Research Unit here in Bangkok. So we are a collaboration between Oxford University and Mahidol University. For those of you who don't know us, we work a lot on tropical medicine such as malaria. We now have work on COVID, and we have a big group of us studying antimicrobial resistance. So this Pint of Science event, phones off please. This Pint of Science event is conducted in conjunction with Antimicrobial Awareness Week in Thailand and the international event as well. So AMR is a global health and development threat. It does require urgent multi-sectoral action in order to achieve our sustainable development goals. WHO has declared that AMR is one of the top 10 global public health threats facing humanity. So World Antimicrobial Awareness Week aims to increase awareness of global AMR and to encourage best practices among the general public, health workers and policy makers to avoid further emergence and spread of drug resistance. The World Antimicrobial Awareness dates are 18 to 24th November. So it starts officially tomorrow. And it's the same date every year starting this year. The slogan for 2020 is Antimicrobials Handle with Care. United to preserve antimicrobials. So without further ado, I shall pass the floor to Andrea, who will give us a little bit of background on Pint of Science. Okay, Andrea?
Thank you, PY. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Pint of Science 2020. My name is Andrea, as PY was just saying, Andrea Rücker, and I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the same place as PY is working at. And I will give you a brief introduction to what Pint of Science actually is and what it stands for. Before we get started, though, by show of hands, who of you have been to a Pint of Science event before? Hey, it's excellent. So we got some returning customers and also some new people. So hopefully this will be a quick and informative session on the Pint of Science. So, Pint of Science. Once upon a time, a long time ago, in 2012, a couple of researchers at Imperial College in London in the UK were trying to think about how they can best get their science into to the general audience. The reason why they're doing this and the aim of this is because they're working on healthcare science and they wanted to talk and present their science and interact with people that will ultimately benefit from their science they were doing in the lab. So what do people do in the UK to relax and to unwind and to meet each other? Well, they go to the pub. Either you go to the pub after work or you go to the pub over the weekend with your friends, and what do you do there? Well, you drink a pint of beer. And this is how the Pint of Science was born. by combining science with a pint of beer in a very relaxed environment. So this was in 2012. Ever since then, and very quickly, the Pint of Science became an absolute global phenomenon and the biggest scientific event in the world. It is now in over 24 countries in over 400 cities, usually taking place once a year over 3 days, 3 evenings, usually in May. And we have hosted the first Pint of Science in Asia in 2017, right here in Bangkok, and it was a huge success and a lot of fun. So we're very excited to be here tonight. So unfortunately, this May the event was cancelled because, as you all know, of coronavirus disease. And just to put you back into the present, this is the cumulative case number of confirmed coronavirus cases by last Friday. And I got this figure from our World in Data. But we were lucky because Thailand was extremely successful so far in containing coronavirus spread. And that is why we were able to actually hold a Pint of Science event face-to-face in September 2020. Together, and obviously, due to the recent topic, we did a COVID-19 special. Also at the same time, in September 2020, a few of the countries were holding an online event. And as you can see here on the right-hand side, this is our event in 2020 here in September, which was a real success, and we did it face-to-face. So we're extremely excited that we can be here tonight with our 3 fantastic speakers talking to you about antibiotic awareness and antimicrobial resistance, which is hugely important. And I cannot wait to listen to their talks. But just a couple of housekeeping things. We have a few feedback forms, so it would be excellent if you could give us your feedback so we can improve the event in the future for you and tailor-make it for you. Suggest any ideas you could come up with and hand the forms back at the door when you go out. And we also handed out a postcard survey about AMR. So if you could complete this before the first speaker starts, because otherwise you know all the answers, which would not be particularly great. Also there are drinks and snacks in the back, as you saw already. And with all online events at the moment, please be social online and use any of the platforms highlighted here to share your ideas, your thoughts, or just pictures, or anything you think. And we really want to thank a few people. First of all, the FCCT for being here tonight. We are really happy and excited to be here tonight, and I'm sure it's going to be a great evening. So bring on the questions to the speakers. And also we want to thank the funders. Moru, this is the place we work. Wellcome Trust, Mahidol University, and Oxford University. And then also I want to thank Matt Robinson, who's actually the country director of the Pint of Science Thailand, who cannot be here tonight because he is in Laos. So I hope he's watching online if this is live stream. So give a big wave to Matt, everyone. Thank you. Because without him, Pint of Science simply wouldn't have happened. So I think that's it. Excellent, thank you very much. And PY is now going to introduce the first speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So there'll be 3 speakers tonight. First will be Dr. Direk, second will be Phon, and third is Dr. Niyada. So without further ado, I'll introduce Associate Professor Dr. Direk, Lilma Turatukakul. And he is a long-time researcher in AMR and a long-time colleague of mine as well. So Direk, over to you. Oh, one second. There will be... It's a tradition for Pint of Science events to have a short break after the first talk, and then you can top up your drinks, come and chat to us, etc. So there are quite a few scientists in the room, so feel free to approach us. We love chatting to public.
Thank you very much, PY. I'm going to tell you the story of how I try to convince people to use antibiotics less. Actually, many of you have been in Thailand for a period, I hope. I heard many of you can speak Thai very well. Have you had a fight with your doctors whether should you take antibiotics or not antibiotics? Have you had kids and when they get a common cold, go to the clinics and then the doctor say, okay, take antibiotics? Or have you heard about the Thai staff say that I want the strongest antibiotic so that I can get better now? So that's the issue in the country. Oops, what happened? Keep it dark is fine and leave it dark. Okay, so that's the story. And actually, even I am a doctor. 20 years ago, as a just graduate doctors in the South, it's quite common in Thailand for doctors to prescribe antibiotics because it's our norm, our culture, our teaching, and say that, okay, if you are not so sure, give antibiotics just to be safe. And that kind of thinking have been in our country for so long. And then during the last 10 years, World Health Organization and the awareness about antimicrobial resistance is increasing. And they start telling doctors, no, you don't need to give antibiotics if the patients have common cold. And they say that, okay, now use antibiotic responsibly. It's easy to say, everyone say that, but we still prescribe antibiotics. And you still have a fight with your doctors, and if you have kids, they might got antibiotics 4 times a year, even more than that. Why? Just to touch it, why first? Why we have to aware about the antibiotic resistance? Actually, I'm not so sure that you realize, in your body, in your gut, you have a lot of bacteria. Actually, it's about trillion or million bacteria in your body. So, most of the time, they are the good bacteria. But no matter what, whether it's with the good reasons or without good reasons, if you take antibiotics into your body, a proportion of the bacteria in your body will turn to be antimicrobial resistant. Because the bacteria can evolve all the time. If they expose the drug, it will turn a little bit more resistant. And that bad bacteria can infect you, can go into your blood, can make your blood intoxication, blood poisoning. And actually the worst is that it can get out to your pool. It can go to the environment. And the more you take the antibiotics, the more you are the antibiotic-resistant bacteria spreader. So, that's the reasons why we have to take antibiotic responsibly. I have talked a lot, discussed with a lot of people, and I feel that just say that, okay, now we should take antibiotic responsibly, think before you take antibiotics. It's not enough. To change people's mind or change people's behavior, you need something first, personal. I know that because I think about 10 years ago, I chat with a doctor from Netherlands, actually. I heard that she came from Netherlands as well. A doctor from Netherlands. And he said that, I never had antibiotics for my whole life. And he was 55 years old. I said, what's that? Because at that time, I'm like 30, and I had antibiotics about 4 times a year. And I just realized that, okay, you can grow up until 55 years old without antibiotics for your whole life. And that's the spark of the idea that I think, okay, we should make something that is quite personal. So, first, I'm going to ask you this question. When was the last time you took antibiotics? It can be either oral, it can be either injection, it can be with good reasons, or it can be with unclear reasons. Keep your answer in your brain, and then I would like everyone to join some activities together by raising your hands up. Can everyone raising your hands up? Just up first. Okay. This is just a group testing. I'm not going to take any data, not to do research, not anything. I will not blame you for anything. If you never had antibiotics for your whole life, put your hand down. Put your hands down. If you never had antibiotics for your whole life, put your hands down. Okay, so at least everyone got antibiotics most of the time, at least once. If the last time, more than 10 years, put your hands down. If the last time, more than 10 years, put your hands down. Okay. If it's your last time is longer than 5 years, put your hand down. Okay. If it's longer than 2 years, put your hands down. Okay, now I down as well, and 3 years. So, okay, I think we can stop it now because it's about half of the room. So, it's good because at least in this room, about half the room, the median time, which is about a middle, is about 2 or 3 years. And when I did this in my office with Mahidol Oxford Research Unit 3 years ago, among Thai people, half of the group take the antibiotic 6 months ago. So they took about 2 courses per year. And I think even now some Thai sitting here might still do that. And this is a big difference among expats when you were in your country. And I think when you come to Thailand, you might get pushed to get more antibiotics as well. So there are a lot of reasons, a lot of discussion about that, but I just think that, okay, the campaign, if you want to do it, whatever the tool is, it should be personal, it should be up to it to be to you yourself. Then, next, I think that that's in the human. And I think that if you want to go further, we are not alone. We are not the one who use the antibiotics. Animals, or the chicken, or the fish, or the meat that you just eat on your plate, they might have had antibiotics before they came to your plate. If you buy it in the supermarket, you might have seen the leaflet or the package labeling said antibiotic free. Did you know what it means? I'm not so sure that you really realize it. But actually, we did some study because 7 years ago, there's no data about it. And I'm so curious about it until I can get the data of a few farms, only a few farms. But I just realized it. Actually, in this farm with 14,000 chicken per round, each chicken took 300 milligrams of antibiotics to grow. And they don't call growth promoters because they changed the way they use it. They call prevention. And actually, there's no antibiotics during the last 10 days. So there's no antibiotics left in the meat. So whatever you took as a chicken on your plate, most of it, if they come with the good processing, there are no antibiotics left in the meat. But the antibiotics that the animals took during their whole lifetimes go into their poo, go into their environment. And actually, when they say 300 milligrams, it looks small. But actually, what I saw in the farm is this size of the antibiotics. And this is 1 kilogram of cefazine. This is not for you to eat, but I just want something that is tangible, so you can, if you see it and pass it to your friends so that they can see that this is the real how you use the antibiotics for animal farms. It's not illegal, I have to say, and this is normal in Thailand and in Europe, in US, in UK. You can find this size of the antibiotics that you need to use it to prevent the disease. Do you think that is expensive? 1 kilogram of antibiotics. Actually, that's just $3 per bucket. $3. You can find it online as well, although it's not legal, but you might be able to shopping online for the antibiotics for animal if you want to. It's not illegal, and we, Thailand, use the same rate as Europe using. So the amount of it is quite a lot, I think. So I think that not only just personal, the second thing that it should be tangible. I hope you might have seen this already, that if you do shopping, you can pass it to your friends, tell them don't eat it. But if you do shopping nowadays, you might find some meat have a label called raised without antibiotics. It tries to prove that they raised without antibiotics for their whole lifetime, which is not bad, but it's a premium meat, which is 5 times more expensive than the wet market. But I think it would be much better if we have something quite close to the antibiotic footprint, that you can have the grading You can have a little bit premium. You can have showing that not only just race with zero antibiotics. Can you do with lowest amount, and you can do the pricing to make the market move how the antibiotic is used. And when it's tangible, because when you are going to buy it, you can see and you can read it. So I hope that you shock a little bit to see the real bucket, and you can pass it to the other table so they can see it. So personal, tangible. I think the next thing is that measurable, because when you want to talk about it, the thing that I ask all the time is that how many tons of antibiotic is being used in your country? I keep asking in Thailand, in Laos, in Myanmar, in Cambodia, in USA, in EU. I got only the data 7 years ago from some high-income countries. But then, okay, I think that this is the start of the concept. If you want to measure it like a carbon emission for the carbon footprint, you can think in the same way for the antibiotic consumption among both human and animal, and think it as a combine one health together. Because it's not only you consume yourself, whatever meat that you consume or whatever animals raised in your countries, they also consume antibiotics as well. Okay, good things. 3 years ago, Thailand released the first official data of how much antibiotics had been consumed in that year, 2017. Who think human consume more than animals? No. Or do you think that animals consume more than human in Thailand? Yes. Good. Indeed, the blue is a human, the green is an animal. The next question is that how many tons? Do you think human consume in general 10 tons a year? 1 ton is 1 cubic meter. You can think about 1 ton as a 1 cubic meter. 10 tons, 100 tons, 1,000 tons, 10,000 tons. And animal is a double of that. Okay, who think that is 10 tons a year? Human? No. Okay, 10 tons. Who think it is 100 tons? Okay. Who think it's 1,000 tons? Who think that is 10,000 tons? Yes. Human consume 2,000 tons in 2017. Animal, in this Thailand alone, and this is official data from the Ministry of Public Health, they did the official survey the same way that the Europe do. And animal is 4,688 tons. And obviously, if you do it in the same way as a carbon footprint, you can do this. You can do it in the same way as the bubbles. And you can see how each country consume antibiotics in that year. Unfortunately, Thailand doesn't have the data backward to 2015, but the World Health Organization released a lot of the human consumption in 2015, and we had a lot of animals data from a lot of high-income countries. I'm not so sure many came from USA, but US is the biggest blue, 9,700 tons in 2015. We don't have the China, so we have only open access data because it's always controversial or complainable that, no, that's wrong, that's bad estimation. This is official data from the Ministry of Public Health or Ministry of Agriculture. And the same way as antibiotic carbon footprint, you can click each bubble, or you can say per 100,000 person or per person. And USA is not that big anymore because actually US is quite big and the number of people is quite a lot. When you average per person, it's down to something 30 milligram. And if you click into the bubble, is a pale color because this is the USA, because actually the official data that the USA released is only animal data. FAO never officially released human data. They rely on the market. So when they have no official data, we haven't used it on our mapping. And we try to say, you don't have the data, can we see it in the future? We don't have the China. When will you release the data? Other countries already do. So that's the concept. But what you can see, not so sure, it's quite difficult to see. But you can see that actually in USA, within 2 years, antibiotic use in animals declined by half. And that's not because of your president, but because of the big campaign of consume less without antibiotic meats in the US. And we can talk about that longer, but just to say that for this kind of thing, I think that antibiotic footprint can be used as a tool, quite similar way how carbon footprint is being used. It can be converted into something personal, it can be converted to something tangible, it can convert into something with open access data and traceable. And I hope that at the end of the day today, you start to think, what is my antibiotic footprint? Is it more than my friends? Is it good already? Thank you.
Thank you, Direk. Don't sit down yet because we'll have time to take a few questions, and then we'll have a break where you can order drinks. All right? Okay, questions, please. Yes? We need to go to the back with the mic. Eh?
I have 2 questions. The first question is relevant to your talk, so maybe you could answer. Second question might not be directly relevant to your talk, so feel free to not to answer. First question, I have seen data in the US where the map of antibiotic usage correlates with obesity. So the states with the highest antibiotic usage have the highest obesity rate. I'm just wondering, is there any data that correlates the graph that we've just seen per capita usage of antibiotic for each country and the obesity rate? That's question number 1. Question number 2, I am fully aware of the implications of antibiotics on gut health, including drastically and permanently reducing the gut microbiome diversity. Personally, I think my gut microbiome is not good. I'm fat and I get sick very easily. So I have this idea that I want your input on. Would it be a good idea for me to purposely take antibiotic to kill much of the bacteria in my gut and repopulate my gut with good microbiomes from probiotic supplements, from kefir, from yogurt, stuff like this? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Interesting questions. First, for the first question, whether I see any correlation in the country level with the obesity, the answer is no. And I think that as a scientist, I think that ecological study is not strong enough to say that. And the evidence about taking too many antibiotics make you fat is still a little bit weak. But I believe that there might be some correlation that it need to do some more strong studies in the future. First. And the second, should you take antibiotics to kill your bad bugs and then take the new microbiome? The answer that if you are healthy, definitely no, you shouldn't do that. You should try to just stay healthy, exercise, eat variation of good meals, vegetables, not just amount, but the variety of vegetables. Yogurt are good, and any variation, and try to avoid anything that can cause you diarrhea, cause you disease. Those kind of things can make you diarrhea and you lose a lot of good bacteria and will increase the chance that you have to take antibiotics. Every time that you need to take antibiotics, it will induce your bad bacteria in your body. And you cannot kill it 100%. The way to kill it 100% is so absurd, so crazy, but in some few cancer cases, when they had to do it before they get the chemotherapy, or when they got a severe emergency, they might have to do, they call gut preparation. So it's not antibiotics, but it's like a taking laxative until you release it as much as possible, but it will never be zero. So the answer is that if you are healthy, no, don't take any antibiotics. Keep exercise, eat a lot of good food, enough.
So are there antibiotics in meat or not?
Pardon?
Is there any antibiotic residue in meat or not?
Okay.
And if not, let's say everybody wait for 10 days to wait out for the antibiotics out of the meat. Why do you care whether animal would use antibiotic or not?
Very good questions. Most of the meat that come from the good farms and come from the good abattoirs in Thailand, you can be quite certain that there are no antibiotics left in the meat. However, I so care about it because if you use 6,000 tons of the antibiotics, it will go into the sewage, it will go to the environment, it will increase the chance that bacteria in the water that someone will consume at the end of the rivers have the antibiotic resistance. And we have already seen a lot of evidence showing that in that county, in that area, if you use a lot of antibiotics, the bacteria that colonize or live within our body will be more resistant, will turn more infection that difficult to cure. I'm not saying use none, but I think 6,000 tons are absurd. And how we can reduce it to the optimum or minimum, I think that's the goal that the society should go to.
So Andrew has a question. Can you move over here so that you're standing next to the banner for photos?
Derek, thank you so much. That was a great talk. I actually have a comment/question from an audience member online. So Shinny, this is for you. So she said scientist teams in Denmark at the DTU, they actually collected sewage from a lot of countries around the world and analyzed that to quantify the abundance of antibiotics. And they combined the antibiotic abundance data with World Bank data, so they can predict the abundance of antibiotics and which ones were used. So I guess the idea would be, is that something you're thinking of doing to get access to the real data of antibiotics that have been used across the globe or starting in Thailand?
Okay. For that, it's not me that personally want to do that, but in Thailand, some scientist group plan to join the global sewage study network to do that as well. And just because you asked about sewage, I would say more that you have some sewage data showing that low-income countries have more antibiotics residual in the sewage. And it's still unclear yet how much it's associated with the antibiotic consumption or because of the poor water supply or the hand washing or the other chemicals. So there are many, many factors. I would say it's similar to COVID, that there could be a mask, there could be social distancing, there could be hand hygiene. So there are multiple factors that related to how we control the COVID. And I think the same way of mask and antibiotic consumption, that antibiotic consumption alone is not the real sole problems for the antimicrobial resistance. But what the country should do is do everything: proper water, hand hygiene, antibiotic consumption, infection control, reduce diarrhea, reduce other infections, and all together should reduce the antimicrobial resistance in the sewage and in the patients.
Thank you, Direk. Can everyone give Direk a big hand? Thank you very much. I apologize, but we will have another session at the end of the three talks. So, yes.
Everyone do last minute. So can I do last minute advertisement? If you confused with any jargons about the antimicrobial resistance, there is a dictionary called Antimicrobial Resistance Dictionary in 11 languages now. It's available on the website. and it's Ravikanya who sitting there helping this. There's examples at the booth, and there's a small name card that you can take it as a web link so that you can see it. And if you are teachers and you want the real example, we have 3 copies. You can ask from Ravikanya to take back home.
Thank you. That's all right. We'll have a 5-minute break. Go and get some snacks, get some drinks, have a little break. We'll start back in 5 minutes sharp, and it will be phone who will start. Yeah, okay? And you're welcome to approach direct if you have any questions now. Thank you. Just 5 minutes. Hello. Right, guys, we are starting in 30 seconds. 30 seconds, guys. We start in 30 seconds. Come over here. You ready? Okay. Pint of Science team, you come up here as well.
Wearing his helmet, he just got back from the protest. Dear guest, just stormed in with his helmet.
I'll go say hello.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming
I
despite
wanted to
all
say,
that.
I'll
Yeah.
leave in about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
send me the info and
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll talk later.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming. Yeah. So the first thing I will do is to acknowledge the Pint of Science team. Then after that, questions. And after that, talk. Okay? So you come to the front with me. Yeah. After that, I'll just give it to you. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we start now. Everyone, may I have your attention, please? All right, we're going to start with the next session. So everyone, I just want to acknowledge the Pint of Science team. They work very hard. I won't name everyone. So everyone in black t-shirt, just wave and give them a clap, everyone. So thank you guys for all your hard work organizing this event. Very much appreciated. So next we'll have a very, very short quiz session. Very, very short. Gail, would you like to come and do your thing? All right. What are the prizes? Is it masks? Yeah. So, listen carefully, guys. Okay.
Okay, so we got some questions for you about AMR because it's AMR week. So, some easy questions. If you got the answers right, we got mask from Pint of Science. Yeah. Good quality. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the first question, who and when discovered antibiotics?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Red.
Oh, no.
Raise your hand before.
Yes. Okay, so the person who first discovered antibiotics is Alexander Fleming in 1928. Yeah. The second one. Can anybody name 4 types of microbes? No. 4 types of microbes.
4 types of microbes: virus, bacteria, fungus, parasite.
Yeah.
Okay, one more. Last one.
Okay.
Listen carefully.
Now this one is a tricky question. So, antibiotic resistance happens when my body is resistant to the antibiotics. One more time. Antibiotic resistance happens when my body is resistant to antibiotics. Raise your hands. Yes, false. It's the bacteria in your body that is resistant to the antibiotics. That's why it could spread to other people.
Can you repeat the 4 microbes?
The 4 microbes are bacteria, virus, parasite, and fungus.
Should you consider bacteria as part of the body?
Oh. We should ask experts.
Phone, please.
So, Phone, Phone, please.
So the next talk is by Phone. Can't really pronounce her proper name. She's from Greenpeace, and she'll give us a talk on antibiotics in the meat industry. Please, thank you for coming.
Okay. Hello. Thank you, everyone. My name is Phone, and so maybe I should stand on this side as PY suggested. I am Phone, food and ecological campaigner from Greenpeace Thailand, and I would like to state an obvious fact that I am no scientist. I don't hold any doctor degrees, and sorry, I would not talk something geeky about antibiotics or bacteria or anything, but I would like to talk here about something that is very close to us, but it's just so big that maybe we overlook it. It's something like very simple in everyday life. So it's antibiotic in the food that we eat that is related to the meat industry. So the first slide here, you can get the glimpse of how the chickens are raised. For this is one that is called the battery cage. It is for the eggs, chicken who laid eggs. You can see the condition that this is very dark. They would adjust the light according to the time that they would keep the eggs from the chicken. And you can see that they live in the levels like condominium-like. And this is not the way that is natural for chickens to live, of course. So here, I would like just to point out how the meat industry apply antibiotics in their practice and how it would affect us, like the way that Dr. Direk has just said that is that big amount of antibiotics, is that necessary? This is in Germany. This is the kind of the space that you can see that all the pigs they cannot even have the space to move around. So of course it's not healthy. And this is the chicken that is raised for meat as well. They live in a very crowded condition. So can I have some like raise hand again if all of you, any of you here love to eat meat, and any of you who is vegetarian or vegan, who is a meat lover, please? Okay. And is anyone vegan or vegetarian? Okay. So this kind of photo maybe we are not talking about encouraging anyone to go vegan or anything, just to talk about the impact from the industry. And anyway, here comes the role of the antibiotic to make all these animals in the poor condition healthy enough for us to eat, to stay alive. Because if there any one animal who gets sick in that kind of very crowded condition, it can get spread to another. and all of them will die. So the factory, the corporate will lose their profit. Actually, they would use that to keep them, the antibiotic would be used to keep them long enough to stay alive until the slaughtering process. ยังไงอะใช้ไงคะ yeah, so just some photos to browse around. And this is like in some countries in Europe during the COVID time, they need to do this. It's a very bad practice to leave it out, just outside the factory. I think Dr. Direk also have said that the way that the amount of antibiotics is used in animals more than in humans, and it is used in the way that is incorrect because it's sometimes previously it used for growth promotion and also used to prevent, not to cure. And it's not used just case by case, so it's used like in the feed, animal feed, for all of them at once. So here's the number of the global situation again, and so you can see that the amount of the antibiotic is used in livestock and pets in the Thailand. This is the old number, like in 2016. We only know the numbers that is used for like the registration of the antibiotics, but not actually the amounts that is used in Thailand. So that is why that we think the important missing information is that we don't have the transparency and the accountability or traceability for the antibiotic that is used in the meat industry. That's why it is so difficult to fix this, because we don't have the real information. Here, so it doesn't just stay in the farm. What happened at the farm stay outside of the farm, and it also can leak in the soil or the contamination of the water. So here just some boring information that the impact on health and economics, but it's maybe something that it's really far for us to want to understand. So maybe we can take a look at something maybe closer to us. This is the report that taking the sample from the river across the world in 72 countries, and it's found that there is 65% of the rivers that is contain antibiotic contamination, include Chao Phraya as well here in Thailand. And also if you are from England, there's also Thames River. Here is another report from Greenpeace, Europe. They take the sample from the river as well in 29 rivers in Europe that is near the intensive animal farming. And the sample found like more than 20 different drugs. Among them are 12 antibiotics and more than over 100 of pesticides. So this is the food that we eat, right? The meat. And here is a report from Consumer Foundation in Thailand. This is the sample that is took from the chicken breast from the market in Bangkok. And 40% of the sample, it is found the antibiotics in the chicken breast. And you see the name doxycycline here is one of the common antibiotic that is also used in humans. And if we talk about the resistance bacteria here, if the bacteria in our body got infected by the superbug that is resist to doxycycline. You can imagine that it will also make us resist to the antibiotic as well. So here is just some in the light of the COVID here. We have just would like to see that how pandemic is relevant to industrial animal farming. So all the causes here that we have talked about before, the condition of the numbers of the animals, the transportation, the manual spread disease, and the space for animal, all this is linked to the way that we always talk about the concept of One Health. So the health of animal is also connected to our health, and also the health of the environment connect to our health as well. So in order to prevent the next pandemic, maybe we should think about the factory farming. Maybe we can reduce the risk with that. And here, sorry that is in Thai, but you can see around here that is related how the factory farming here related to the spread of the pandemic. One angle is the deforestation. No, sorry. This is all the sectors that contribute to the pandemic. One is the deforestation. This is animal trafficking. And the other one is industrial animal farming. So you can see that in the meat industry is already connected to two parts of this. One is the deforestation in order to farm the animal feed. And the other one is directly connected the animal farming. So, yeah. So as an environmental organization, Greenpeace would like to use the FAO suggests to support us, like the possible approach to prevent the AMR is just to reduce the number of animals in farm, because maybe we should think about the less and better food, less and better meat, or even less is more veggies. And what we are suggesting as Thailand as solution work for the policy documentation. One thing is maybe simple but can be difficult to do, but it would help us understand more and connect us to the food that we eat. So it's about the food labeling for the meat industry. What we would like to see on the label is something quite close to Dr. Ridek had just said. So we would like to see the amount of the antibiotic that is used throughout the animal's life, or else you can never know that, like that bucket there, how much is would go into the meat, the meat on the table. And something that is not relevant here is like the source of animal feed. Like would it connect to deforestation or not? So it's not just like we don't want consumer just to be blamed here. So we would like us to be more connected to the food that we eat, but how to do that? We need to get the two-way communication from the industry as well. So in order to do that, the transparency policy is really important here. So it would be great to be able to track the traceability throughout the product and the supply chain, and then need to disclose the information publicly as well. And also the solution, what would we eat if we like cannot eat the industry meat anymore? So we can switch to the small scale farmers. They would provide a little bit more expensive meat, but if you know that farmer and you support them, you will like be sure that that meat is 100% safe because they raise them carefully and they would be sure that all that an animal is free from antibiotic, which would be very useful for our health as well. So here's the petition. If you would like to sign, it's on our website. So sponsor time here. Greenpeace.or.th. We are calling for the labeling law. To sum up, we would like to connect consumer to the food that we eat so that we can make a choice that is not only good for our health, but it's good for the environment and everyone in the supply chain as well, whether it's the farmer, the small-scale farmer, or the animals that is on our plate. Yep, so we don't want to be the one who get blamed on this. We can take a stand for healthy life and healthy planet, one meal at a time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Phone. We have time for a couple of questions before the next talk. Anyone? Yes? Please speak in the mic so others can hear.
Antibiotics as a medicine taken not to the mouth but just for on wounds. On wounds. On wounds. They're very good. But does it interfere with blood or something like that?
That's a question for Direk, I think, right? Yeah. But do you want to answer that? Okay.
Yes, it can. Antibiotics that you put it on your wound, it can go into your blood and it can induce some antibiotic resistance bacteria in your gut as well. But if you have the infected wound and if you really need antibiotics, you should use it. Okay? Antibiotics is similar to many other drugs. If you need it, you need to use it at the optimum amount. If you use it too much, it will kill you. If you don't use it at all, you can die as well. So if you have infected wound, you should use it.
Thank you so much. Yes. Any questions for the previous speaker? Yes, Andrea, go ahead. Phone, could you come back here? Ratana Siri.
Thank you. That was, again, a really interesting talk. How far do you think we are away from having a clear plan in regards to antibiotics and the antibiotic use? Because you're saying we want to have a clear labeling plan in Thailand. How long do you think it will take before we have it?
Well, it's something that we are just getting started here, and if you ask like how far do we need to go, it's just like we would like to ask you, everyone here as well, like how far that we are ready to go to change the food system here, because now it's just not just broken, it's quite out of control. So we need to ask ourselves here if we are ready to make a change. Yes.
Any more? Okay, one here. You should go to the mic there. Yeah. Yes, only one question, okay?
So I used to keep chicken and ducks for my own consumption, just for hobby, and plant a bit of vegetables. I knew very well that farming is very labor intensive and very inefficient. So I totally get the point you are making, but my question is, how can you know that the small scale farmers, local farmers, actually use less antibiotics than the big companies, the big industrial farms?
Let me go back to this slide here. This is information from the FAO, and even though FAO doesn't say it, I think it's quite obvious that the amount of the animal that is raised in the industry compared to the small-scale farmer, you can see that if the animals have more space to live and more natural space to live as well, they would need to depend less on the antibiotics. And that's why they are more healthy. So, and antibiotic is used just to make sure that animal that doesn't stay in the good condition that would infect on their health, they would stay alive long enough for us to be the meat in front of us. Just that, maybe it's 40 days or more. So it's just that, just to keep them alive. So you can make sure that the small scale, even though sometimes they use, or you can, the good thing about small scale is that is the connection between the consumer and the producer is shorter than the meat industry. You don't even know who produced the meat in the package in the supermarket. But if the small scale farmer, you would get to see the name of the farmer or the address. And sometimes if you visit the market, the green market or anything, you can even talk to the owner of the farmer. So that makes the relationship between the producer and the consumer shorter, and you can ask what is the process of the food that you eat, how the animals are raised, or the condition that they live. So you get to know the information that is missing in the industrial meats.
Thank you for a very interesting presentation and for spearheading this advocacy. I'm curious to know if Greenpeace with this initiative has met any resistance from the producers or the companies that manufacture the antibiotics, or if you see that as a barrier for getting this kind of policy moved forward in Thailand.
The answer is yes. And if we get the resistance from the big meat or big egg, it means that we are going in the right direction. So it's a good sign. So yeah.
So are you seeing that already, or you're anticipating to see it already? Thank you.
Right, so with that, let's give one a big hand again. So last but not least, we have Assistant Professor Niada, who will talk to us about Thailand Antibiotic Awareness Week and all the activities that she and her team are spearheading this year and years before. Dr. Niada?
Thanks, PY, and good evening, everyone. It's the last session, but I think after two presentations, which give you sad feeling, I show you the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. Before this, I would like to make you a little bit exercise and good start of feeling. Yeah, maybe show this one.
ทุกซีซั่นไวรัสออกแบบมาให้คนเป็นหวัดแบคทีเรียก็ด้วยไม่เคย out วัดจากแบคทีเรียกินยาปฏิชีวนะแต่ต้องกินให้ครบ Fabulous แต่หวัดส่วนใหญ่เกิดจากไวรัสไม่ต้องกินยาปฏิชีวนะพักผ่อนก็หาย Rest is more นี่เป็นแฟชั่นใหม่เพื่อจัดการหวัดตามเทรนด์ซะถ้าไม่อยากให้เกิดเชื้อดื้อยา
Okay, so how about that? This clip video we prepared for last year campaign on the awareness with the Thai health, and my friends from the other university he brought to Mexico. Anyone from Mexico? And he showed this video as well, and people love and would like to have something like this in their country. So I think it's good for the teenagers, for the younger ones, that we try to communicate them how to differentiate between virus and bacteria. And there are some illness that no need for antibiotics. So the one is the common cold. Yeah, and you know I carry one bag. There are something inside the Doraemon bag. Many toolkits that we can use for the campaign, how we can see whether you can use antibiotic or not, and many things in this. And if you can give me some good answers, you may find it interesting to see the booklet. Anyone got a kit? กุ๊กไก่ catch a cold in two languages, Thai and English. Then maybe I bring you a little bit back to my machine. Yeah. In fact, I have the question, but I think you already got many answers on that. But anyway, do you still really understand about antimicrobial resistance? It's not just only you will get sick, more sick, if you get antibiotic, the resistant one, and then you may die. But in fact, I will make you a little bit deeper sad that the effect of antimicrobial resistance are more than that. The second question about Thailand Antibiotic Awareness Week, have anyone heard that before, or no one? Oh, sad for me because I campaigned that for 8 years already. Anyone raise your hand? Oh, yes, thank you. Yes or no? Heard or not heard? Yes, okay, you can get the booklet. This is I love this one. You know, Dr. Direk and Phon, there are a group of people who feel very passionate on antimicrobial resistance. And everything about that we try to understand. This is I borrow from the Canadian organization. And it's about, you see I have the number, at least 7 areas that will bring you contact to antimicrobial resistance. Very bad one. The first one, human. You take antibiotics. From hospital, from care, from traveler, community, you bring all Thai students who go abroad for studying, they have to have a pack of antibiotic with them because they are afraid they could not get. The second one, the animal food, you heard from Phon a lot. The third one, industrial, the company, the food, the plant. The fourth one, aquaculture. You didn't have more information. Aquaculture, not only the animals, the plants too, and there are many plants that they already use antibiotic with them. The one that very famous in Thailand is in orange orchard. Have you heard that? They inject antibiotic into the trunk of the orange tree to kill an bacterial infection. But then the problem, the fifth one, the seed, the crop, everything about the crop, the vegetable. And the sixth one, unbelievable, companion. When we call it ทาสแมว yeah. When your companion gets sick, sometimes I have some antibiotic left, give them. And antibiotic resistant, traveling from human to animal and animal to human, vice versa. Very serious one. And the seven, this is the very new that I know. Ethanol fuel production, they use antibiotic to control the fermentation. Yeah, so at least 7, and on the way, wildlife, they found antibiotic resistance in the wildlife already. In the Antarctic, Arctic, in the North Pole, South Pole, they found in the sea a lot. So there are many problems inside. Oops, cannot go. I put the wrong one. Okay. But then why antibiotic awareness week? Because now we know the problem, and how can we understand, and how can we see the threat already, but who create the antibiotic resistance? Who the microbes or animals or plant? Is the people who manipulate something about the microbes, and it spread to everything that we already known. And yes, the most important one is the gut microbiome. And there's one research that if your gut microbiome got sick, it impact your brain. It's the Japanese studies on that. And then who suffer? The human who create, but who suffer? Risk factor to human, to animal, to plant, everything, biodiversity and environment. And those bring to what? The ecosystem and the security of the food system in the world right now. So, okay. So then they create the term One Health basis, One Health approach. And what else? The One Health is a collaborative, multisectoral, transdisciplinary approach working at different levels. But the problem is that they did not include the microbe and the agent, which is the medicine, into the One Health. They just talk about animal, human, plant, environment. But these two things are the very important links that we need to input. And the most problem one is the stakeholder, the people. We have to understand people. That's why we have to put awareness to people. Every people, not only lay person, but scientists, but profession, doctors, pharmacists, policy maker, everyone have to have awareness. And then awareness, we know a lot, KAP, knowledge, attitude, awareness, to have behavioral change. So we have a lot of campaign, IEC, but at the same time, we need the regulation management and the monitoring and evaluation together. So that put together into the campaign. So campaign not just only one event, one intervention, and just only for the talk, gimmick, everything, but it should include both the campaign, big campaign, and the regulation one together to go there. And then there are a lot of campaigns around the world. WHO already mentioned that. Thailand, we done a lot, but does it really work for the just only campaign, the awareness? The study in the BMJ mentioned that, what is already known. So comprehensive information regarding characteristics of antibiotic awareness campaign is lacking. We did a lot, but we didn't research whether it impact, whether how it changed, whether which lesson that we should learn and bring forward. So the new finding, they say that they need evaluation. And the new things, they say that funding is important for the implementation, and expert, they need health communication, social marketing, infectious diseases profession together to do the message and update regularly. So that's why we have to have it every year. That's why we have to insert into many area of working. Then I should ask you, but already there. How come what is the first antibiotic awareness? And you know, I read the word antibiotic awareness and antimicrobial awareness. Do you see the differences between these two words? The first awareness starts with in Europe, antibiotic awareness. So only antibiotics, because why? There are so many bacteria, there are so many antibiotics already there. It's a big threat, a lot of study there already, because for virus, only small group that we have learned. They are resistant to, but maybe smaller or no more change, because we didn't use a lot of chemicals to them. So antibiotics are emerging first. So we focus on antibiotic awareness. But then WHO, they came in later, 2015 to start. They start with the day, European Antibiotic Awareness Day, 18 November. So it's tomorrow. But now WHO said that, we should have a week. So we start from 2015 until 19, that we should have World Antibiotic Awareness Week. But this year, it's just only this year that they changed the term, World Antimicrobial Awareness Week, to remind that the 4 microbes that we mentioned, all microbes can be resistant to chemicals, to antivirus, to antifungus, to anti-parasite as well. So they changed that so that we should remember, and it's concurrent with the COVID, which is virus as well. And this year, they said, should be all antimicrobial. One health approach I mentioned already, increase awareness, and everyone said, awareness should go to where? Who's the victim? Layperson. Layperson should have awareness. But in fact, the campaign awareness focus both layperson and also best practice of the profession as well. So focus to and the slogan, you already heard about that. I will go quickly to show our showcase. Thailand on Monday, the Deputy Prime Minister went there. I saw many faces there too. At least Phon there, Ajahn Net there, and somebody else, yeah. So you get two booklets, nah? From two answers. The Deputy Prime Minister there, and they create a big collaboration with 26 or something organization. So my organization there. I forgot to report to you. I come from Drug System Monitoring and Development Center at Chulalongkorn University. So they create the platform on Monday, and the second is on the vet, the vet school. So they have the awareness on the vet, the companion, the small animals, and my organization and the teams promote AMR awareness in general public and health profession too. So luckily Moru said, why don't you come here so I can sell my organization and my campaign on the antibiotic awareness as well. I have the problem with this. Okay, so I'm very sad when no one, didn't hurt. I didn't hear anything about awareness campaign. We have done already almost 10 years, and we conclude that single intervention not enough. Only one thing cannot, sustain in the brain, in our mind. So we should have continuous, not single, interdisciplinary networking collaboration. We have to have both air war and ground war, and we need a lot of journalists. In fact, we work a lot with journalists as well, communicators and social science. We need support, everything, and the dedicated people, not one man show, not only one champion. We have many champions. And this is the way that we work on too. So this is our 8th year of antibiotic awareness campaign. We still use antibiotic because we still focus on that. And this is the timeline that we work, and you see every year we didn't have only one single activity. We have lots of activity, and we have a good collaboration with REACT in Sweden. At Uppsala, we have Health Action International Asia Pacific, and we have ECM too, the new one together. So at that time, no integrated comprehensive national MR policy in Thailand. We work with them bit by bit until they have the strategy in 17, and we have the national AMR policy, National Health Assembly, and then come up on Monday, yesterday, on the national antimicrobial awareness. Oh, it's a delay a little bit. And the activity that we use normally, as I mentioned, not one activity, but it's a sum up of many activity campaign, such as we have annually, we have drama, we have puppet, we have community drama, we have booklets. We invest a lot of activity to raise awareness, but still low. So we need some research to make the guidance. But anyway, I think we are going that way good enough, because some journalists that we work with them, now they are the speaker on behalf of us. They can explain, they can go into details, and some puppet, some drama actors, they can now bring the words on behalf of us as well. And I have the question to you. I saw many of you, I never used antibiotic for 4 years. The last time that I got, because I was bitten by the dog, and at first I said, I don't want the antibiotic. But the doctor said it's the regimen to take antibiotic for that bite, so I had them. This is the survey that we did. You know, the highest one is purchase antibiotic for self-medication. Anyone have? No? Really? Yes, sure. Because the 10 question, have you ever in your lifetime, all questions were answered, yes. But the highest one, this one, yes. The second one, stop taking antibiotic when feel better. Have you? I guess so. Many people, I feel better now. No headache, no fever, so why don't stop? Many people feel like that, so that's come number 2. And number 2, many of them, take antibiotic losing. This is the good one. All the journalists that I interview, they use antibiotic losing long time ago because now it's banned. Mybacin. Have you tried? So I think I should not say that word. Could you put it out? It's the brand name, yeah, and it's not good to have that brand. They changed the regimen already, because when people feel sore throat, don't have antibiotic, but the lozenge is good. The taste is good, so they take the lozenge because they don't know that it's antibiotic inside that lozenge. Then no one know, because most of the people, the pharmacists know, but the lay person they don't know. So we campaign until now they ban that antibiotic lozenge, change to the new rule. And this year, so we have the slogan. If it in Thai, I talk in Thai first. ใช้ยาปฏิชีวนะอะไรนะใช้ยาปฏิชีวนะทุกโรคหรืออะไรเนี่ยก็จะต้องตายแง่ๆอะไรประมาณนี้นะ so we said die from antibiotic resistance if you take for every symptom. So we have to warn, and we create clips every week from November 3rd until Feb the 2nd, come bi-weekly. And I am going to show this one. A doctor, a real medical doctor, and her husband is a full professor doctor, and her mother died from antibiotic resistance in the hospital. And she is willing to talk to us, but sorry that it's in Thai. But you can feel, and somebody may explain a little bit, and that's a very strong talk of her, because I opened it at the Monday big meeting, and people kept silent and people feel sad because I said, lost in the family, your some mother, the elders, anyone, and then we come up with it. What is the AMR? And there are 3 diseases or illness that no need for antibiotic. Common cold, what else? Diarrhea, and simple wound or clean wound, 3, at least 3. And we have exhibition, lots of things there. Just show you a little bit on the activity Monday. The Deputy Prime Minister, a lot of activity, the students came, doctors, everyone. So thank you very much for listening to me. At least I think I can put something in your awareness on antibiotic resistance, and hope that you join us in a big group of people to go to campaign more and more on antibiotic resistance awareness. Thank you. Show the video, yeah. This is the link that you can use to learn more.
คุณแม่เนี่ยอายุ 82 เข้าโรงพยาบาลด้วยมีแผลที่ขาจากแผลที่ขานี้ทำให้คุณแม่มีไข้แล้วก็เริ่มไม่ค่อยรู้ตัวก็พาเข้าโรงพยาบาลตอนที่เข้าโรงพยาบาลเนี่ยหมอก็ตรวจทุกอย่างก็พบว่าเป็นการติดเชื้อในกระแสเลือดแล้วพอให้ยาก็หายในเวลาอันรวดเร็วไม่กี่วันก็หายเป็นปกตินะคะช่วงที่อยู่โรงพยาบาลก็รู้เรื่องเหมือนปกติเลยแต่พอก่อนจะออกจากโรงพยาบาลนี้มีเลือดออกในลำไส้ก็เลยอยู่ต่อเพื่อจะหาสาเหตุช่วงนั้นคุณแม่ก็ได้รับเชื้อตัวใหม่เข้าไปก็พยายามรักษาผลสุดท้ายต้องเข้าไปอยู่ในห้อง ICU เป็นเวลาถึงเกือบ3 อาทิตย์ก่อนที่จะเสียชีวิตนี่เราสู้เต็มที่ยาอะไรที่ว่าดีๆเนี่ยคุณหมอติดเชื้อก็ให้ทุกอย่างเพื่อช่วยชีวิตคุณแม่และเราเองก็สู้เต็มที่ผลสุดท้ายนี่แม้กระทั่งตัวเองคิดเลยว่า จะย้ายคุณแม่จากโรงพยาบาลแห่งนั้นไปโรงพยาบาลอื่นหรือเปล่าคุณหมออาจจะเก่งกว่าเจ้าหน้าที่อาจจะเก่งกว่า
She want to
ก็สืบ
move
ให้
to
เพื่อน
the
หมอ
other
ติดเชื้อบ้างหม
hospital
อโรคหัวใจบ้างเพราะว่าโรงพยาบาลไม่ว่าจะเป็นเอกช
But
น
she found
อัน
out
ดับ1 2ของประเทศ
all
โรงเรียนแพทย์
hospital
ใหญ่ๆใน
the
ICU
university
เต็มไปด้วยคน
hospital
ไข้
all
ที่ป่วยจาก
ICU
เชื้อดื้อยา
most of them they have the
ก็เลยอยู่ที่เดิม
antibacterial
แล้วก็ไว้ใจให้คุณหมอ
resistant
ดูแลเต็มที่ คุณหมอก็ดูแลอย่างเต็มที่เช่นกัน แต่ผลสุดท้ายเชื้อดุเกินที่จะรักษาได้
finally
คุณแม่
her
ก็เสียชีวิต
mother passed away
ก็ใช้
the
จ่ายทั้งหมด
cost
ประมาณล้านกว่าบาท
1 million บาท
ค่าใช้จ่ายนี่เราถึงจะเสีย2-3 ล้านถ้าหายเราก็ยอม แต่ว่าไม่หายค่ะคนชายเสียชีวิตค่ะหมอคิดว่าถ้าเป็นเชื้อ
If
ธรรม
it's
ดา
a
ไม่ใช่
simple
เป็นเชื้อที่
septicemia, I
พัฒ
think
นา
it's
ตัวเอง
okay
จน
for
ได้ต่อยา
our
ปฏิชีวนะเกือบทุกตัวเนี่ย
practice in
ก็คง
Thailand
จะหาย
now
ได้
but if it's the
เราเป็นคนหนึ่งหรือเปล่า
antibacterial
ที่พอเข้าโรงพยาบาล
resistant
ด้วยโรค
is
เล็กๆน้อยๆแต่เราจะไปได้รับเชื้อ
difficult
ดื้อยาแล้วก็ไปทุกข์ทรมาน
So Thailand has set up the strategy for the antimicrobial resistant plan. Yeah. So stop the resistance, stop the loss. So stop using antibiotic evolutionary. So thank you.
Hello. Maybe this is more of a statement than a question, but maybe addresses a few things. When we're talking about trying to reduce the use of antibiotics, one of the problems that I think is out there is that when people are sick, when they have an infection and they go to the doctor, they go to the hospital, very often they are not encouraged to provide a sample to have it tested to determine if they have a viral infection or a bacterial infection. And often the reason given is that it's too expensive or that it takes too long. And so very often, instead of actually giving a sputum sample, which I've tried to do on several occasions, go to the hospital, I have yellow sputum, I collected it in a very sanitary way, and nobody wants to take it to analyze it. But that's actually the only way you can know whether you have a viral infection or a bacterial infection. And if you take antibiotics when you have a viral infection, it does nothing. So it's a waste, and this actually is one of the reasons why we have this problem with antibacterial resistance. So I'm just wondering if there's some way that we can have an efficacious way of analyzing people's problems to determine if they have a bacterial or a viral infection. I mean, your average person can't know that. The doctor can't know that when he looks down your throat, right? The other thing I'd like to know about is, if this was done, they would also know what type of antibiotic to give you. There are wide spectrum antibiotics. There are narrow spectrum antibiotics. If you know what type of bacterial infection a person has because you've analyzed their sputum, you actually can specifically narrow down exactly what antibiotic you should be giving them. And if wide spectrum antibiotics are used too much, this also will increase the problem of bacterial resistance. Anyway, it's just a general comment, but this isn't just in Thailand. I think it's everywhere that we need to find ways to be able to analyze sputum samples and let people know in a very short period of time whether they have a bacterial or a viral infection. And this would be a way of reducing the overprescription of antibiotics. Anyway, I don't know if that needs an answer. It's just like...
Okay. Yes, please. Yes. my gadget. We have the self-diagnosis at least. We use the central criteria to differentiate the virus or bacterial infection with the sore throat, common cold. Yeah, something like, if you see it's just only the red in the throat, most of them are virus, no need for antibiotics. But if you have some white teeth or something inside, and you feel pain and swelling here, and may some more thing. If you are if you see the video, if you cough, most of them quite virus, and if you have very high fever, that you may consider the one thing. They have quite a good criteria for at least self to check yourself first. And I think this is a good question that is also the policy, the world policy to increase the method of diagnosis to make it shorter time for checking the bacteria or anything type of bacteria, whether resist or not. I think is the way that the policy that we have to go on the research that way. But about the practice or anything, I think Dr. Direk can explain you more on that.
I will answer that yes, there are the better method. The key issues, one is about probability or by chance. 2, cost effectiveness. 3, acceptance of the society. If we think about these 3 issues, even when you say that it's your phlegm or your sputum that you take it to the hospital, even that you are in Netherlands, they will not do anything with your sputum at all. They will say that no, your sputum, we don't test it. We look into your throat, it looks okay, no antibiotics. Go back home, take a lot of water and sleep. And if you are not better in 3 days, come back to the hospital. That most of the Dutch people go it that way. So let's go Dutch if you want to. Second, I think that the COVID speed up a lot of new diagnostic tests. And COVID make a lot of people understand that there is a virus and there is a bacteria. And if we see in the COVID, nothing is 100%. And it's not about the phlegm or sputum, it's about nasotracheal swab. Okay, COVID is good because COVID is not your normal virus in your nose. If you have it, it's 100% specific that you have COVID infection. But the other virus, like a flu or adenovirus that can cause a common cold, even if I don't have common cold, it can stay in my nose already. So that kind of the virus and the bacteria that are already in our nose and mouth can make a lot of interpretation very difficult. And that's why the method that Dr. Niyadas stated about the criteria in your nose, your throat, clinical characteristic without testing the sputum is good enough. In the UK, they also use that central criteria very strongly, and they push it so that the doctor don't prescribe antibiotics unless your tonsil is very, very swelling and very, very exudate, which have a lot of pus in it. If you don't have that and you prescribe antibiotics too much, in the end of the month, the head of the chief medical officer of the UK will write you a letter that you are the GP that prescribe antibiotic, the highest in the district, and we will investigate your practice if you still keep doing that. Something like that. That still not happen in the low middle income countries when the acceptance is still very poor. The funny is it that if we say that you have a common cold, go back home, take paracetamol, drink a lot of water, majority of the people in low middle income countries say that you are the bad doctor. So that's why the mix of the probability, cost effectiveness and acceptance of the society. So we hope that one day we will go like a Dutch. Thank you.
Yes, go
say that antibiotic awareness is, well, it's part of the puzzle, I suppose, in reducing AMR, but it's only a very small part of the puzzle. When we look at how much that the antibiotic usage in animals is 3 times that in humans, there seems to be little action being taken on that side. And also, well, I was really wondering what the government in Thailand, for example, is doing about enforcing the rules, because if there are rules and they're not enforced, well, there's no point in having them. So, as an example, if you go into a chemist, any chemist in Bangkok, you can buy practically any antibiotic you want. How is that possible, and why are the laws, if there are any, not being enforced?
Yes, I think compared to right now, the old traditional way of giving antibiotics and the law allow pharmacists to prescribe and dispense antibiotics by law. Then when we have the strategy plan for the AMR, right now there are two, three policy. There are 6 sub-strategies. The first one dealing on the surveillance is important to see how bad the situation on the resistance. Second, on the regulation, so they have the reclassification, bring up some antibiotics out of the shelf in the chemist to hospital only. Now all injection antibiotic no more by law in the chemist, in the pharmacy. TB drugs, now all TB drugs go up, not in the pharmacy anymore. Many of the antiviral drugs, not there. Yeah, oral or something, not there. The third strategy is on the resistant infection control, something in the hospital, everything in the hospital. Strategy 4 is about agriculture, the livestock, the fishery, the plants, everything. They now having to move to. They cannot stop there anymore. At least a little bit start up. Number 5 is about layperson, and a lot of work need to be done in the school, in the community. We are getting there at least bit by bit. I have I'm at least good feeling that we are going that way already.
For the part about the meat industry or the animal factory, what I can say is that there are some regulations already, but we still need more transparency, and also like Ajahn Niyada has said, the surveillance and the traceability is still lacking. So that's why people like us, we demand for more accountability from the corporate as well. So they need to act upon the regulations, and it needs to have like many both way, like from the government and also from the corporate and the industry to do it. But we still need to do more as a consumer as well. So we need to have more awareness and spread the word about what we need to learn more about the food that we eat, what's the story behind it, so that we need to believe that we have the power of consumer enough to demand the change, and we need to know more information, and the government need to reveal more information. And yeah, because we still don't know, and even though it's like the word AMR or antibiotics here, for me, example, I just learned from both of you a few years ago, and so I am in the business here. So about other people, they still have no idea how to use antibiotics, or is it anywhere else in the food or in an environment or not. So there are many things to do here.
I will add some examples because I work internationally quite a bit, just in case it's interesting. When you said about the regulations and implementation, the human support is so important, and what Thailand is doing is in the standard in the whole Europe, in the same. We follow codex, which is an international code, and it's still a big debate about this. And why I say that the human support or the society support is important, I love Netherlands. If you go back to Netherlands and you check the concept of the slow raising broilers, which means that the chicken that grows less fast, very slow compared to the farming chicken at the moment. Actually, the campaign starts from some Dutch word that I'm not so sure I pronounce accurately, like a kafferpuff something, which means bursting chicken, because it's go into the picture that the chicken keep in fatting and burst too, like that. And then the people start to see that, okay, we shouldn't raise the chicken as fast as that. And there's a new concept that they call slow raising broilers. It took 2 months to grow, use only a quarter of the antibiotics, and only 10% more expensive than the standard chicken. It's good, it's successful. All of the chicken in Netherlands now is a slow raising broilers. But Netherlands export a lot of chicken to the whole Europe. Do you think that they export slow raising broilers? No, they export standard broilers to the whole Europe. And we see that if you are in the USA, if you go to the McDonald's or Taco Bell, the meat in the McDonald's nowadays is raised without antibiotics because of the campaign of the NGO in the US that they push very, very hard. And now all fast food, most fast food in the USA, meat come from the raised without antibiotics farm. But if you eat McDonald's and KFC in Thailand, it's a standard of the country. So but I don't blame the company, because actually if they survey the market, if they survey the consumer looking for the cheapest price for that. That's the first. Second, when you ask about you can buy antibiotics over the counter, actually I just realized that I was wrong about 2 years ago. The new research data came out that what we perceive that the problems of the antibiotics over the counter in Thailand actually is for rich people, because actually the most consumption of the antibiotic is not happening in Bangkok. It happened in the upcountry, in the rural areas. And in Thailand, the healthcare is free. It's universal healthcare. So only the rich people who want to skip the queue buy the antibiotics over the counter. But majority of the population, 90%, go to push it for free from the doctors. And the system to push it for free actually happened in UK and in US as well, because antibiotics actually is not expensive. And for the GP or for the doctors that on the insurance system, they want the patients to feel happy with their clinics so that they can come back and put the insurance to my clinic. So why do you want to fight with your patients for 30 minutes and then the patients feel unhappy with your clinics? So that's why even if you can remove the antibiotics from the counter, there's no guarantee that the consumption will sharply decline. And that happened in Malaysia. They enforce the regulation, remove it from the over the counter. The consumption declined just 10% something, because this kind of thing still happening in the GP, in the clinics. And acceptance of the society, and there's a lot of behavior, quick fix, that people want to get antibiotics because they believe that they need a stronger health tomorrow, and the doctor doesn't want to get sued if they don't give antibiotics. If 1 in a million that boy get worse and die, they can sue us. And if they sue us, and if the experts say that, oh, in that in that scenarios in this country, most of the doctors will give antibiotics. He's doomed. So there's a tipping point that more than half of the country feel that way. Although sorry that now we don't much have COVID in the country, but you need more than half of the country to wear mask during the pandemic so that the people feel you are right to wear the mask rather than not wear the mask. So it's quite the same thing to the behavior of the antibiotic consumption with general and with the animal as well. That's what my belief, and I think that what the behavior people, social scientists pushing forward as well.
But I think I still have a positive thinking that we are improving compared to the past. Yeah.
Sorry.
You may be out of time. Thank you very much. I think education is the key to letting people know what is going on, and I thank you for your work. I have a couple of questions that I see we haven't discussed. Antibiotic, does it have a shelf life? First of all, to answer your question, doctor, if we're going to take it off of the shelf so you can't buy it, then the price has to be adjusted somehow, because the hospitals here double the price automatically if you buy it at the hospital. Whereas if you go into a regular pharmacy, the price is much less. So something has to be educated there as well for the hospitals, especially private ones. The other question is the degradation of antibiotic. No medicine stays at its top titer level for a long time. How fast do antibiotics go down, degrade? And could it be so that there is no active antibiotic actually left, even though you can check it in the water stream and different sorts of things? How do we know anything about that? The third thing is somebody mentioned a vaccine. I mean, these are real diseases that chickens had, that pork has, this trichinosis and many other diseases that killed people. They were not made up. So that this was a way to ensure that we had healthy animals at the end of the process, but it has its effect on humans. So what do we have to replace that when you want to go organic on animals? If you don't use this medicine, what other kinds of things do we use? Is there a vaccine?
That's why we think that we should not leave all antibiotics out of the shelf. So the policy in Thailand is that some you may have to access at the pharmacy. Some simple one with the simple diseases that may need a very good diagnosis. So some will be in the pharmacy. But luckily, if we move to the hospital, we have lots of public hospital. You see already, so to me, it's quite okay to move up at least to reduce the risk of resistance. But we need a lot of practices to improvement, I agree. When we show the clip, some comment, but when I went to the hospital, the doctor still prescribed something. So we need to have awareness, both layperson and also the profession. To me, I think I am the one who against vaccine. So even with the COVID or flu, we have to think carefully about the vaccine. Vaccine is not the absolute answer for health prevention and promotion for COVID. Prevention and health promotion is more important than the vaccine. And even the flu or even for the AMR, if we have the good health promotion, probiotic, prebiotic, good food, prevention, use mask, clean hand, that can be a way of exercise that we need to moving on. Oh, sorry. Not yet.
No, we just have some discussion here, like, so the question about the animals, we think that the best way to deal with this is starting from the good practice, the housing and sanitation, rather than apply new ways of dealing with the bacteria. So yeah, it's starting from the practice, and you need to add.
Yeah. No, I just want to say that vaccine is also good, and vaccine for both animals and humans are important, but also all other things like housing, ventilation, sanitation, but that come with a cost. So that was the pricing with the consumers to adjust it into the best level or optimal level should be the key as well. And I think human flu vaccine, rota vaccine is also good, because if you don't have more common cold or more flu or diarrhea, the chance that you will misuse antibiotic will decline as well. So it's good for both human and animal.
Thank you. One last question, and then we should close.
Okay, so actually, as you mentioned that actually not only the antibiotics could be a driver for the AMR resistant, right? So other chemical can drive the AMR as well, such as the pesticides, metal. So if that's the case, so could you please add pesticides or metal or other chemical residues in environment into your campaigns, not only the antibiotics, but maybe other chemicals as well. Yeah.
One day.
I put on my slide that chemicals, medicine and chemicals, if you saw that. And I'm now reviewing the impact of chemical pesticide on AMR.
Yeah.
Review the paper, and hopefully that might be come out soon. Yeah.
So our group also do the research on the chemical residue in the environment, whether it can drive the AMR bacteria resistant or not. So if we get the result, we can share with you guys, and then you probably like add into your campaigns. Okay.
Good. So I go to contact you. Yep.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much, Ataniada, Atandirek, and Phone, for your excellent talk. So just to say, so we had 3 talks today. What is the antibiotic footprint by Dr. Direk? Thailand Antibiotic Awareness Week by Professor Niada from Chulalongkorn, and antibiotics in the meat industry from Ratanasiri from Greenpeace Thailand. We've got quite a nice mixture of talks, so thank you very much. And thank you very much to the Pint of Science team again. Wave. Thank you to FCCT for hosting us. Wave and clap. All right. So last but not least, we have some feedback forms. It will help us very much if you can fill those out, because we would like to hear some feedback and improve future events. There is also a flyer that we've handed out. These are the projects listed, and even if they're not listed, you can email us and we can provide you all sorts of information about AMR, and you can follow our events on Antimicrobial Resistance Week, etc. One more thank you is to our funder, the Wellcome Trust. So tonight, the snacks and stuff, it's funded by the Wellcome Trust, so that any people who come don't have to pay for it. Other Pint of Science events, people pay a nominal amount, say £3 to £5, but here in Thailand, we normally don't ask people to pay because we have funding. Right, so last but not least, I thank everyone in the audience for your questions and for coming. Yay! And we hope to see you again next time. Okay, bye-bye.